Come on back to your Father's truth and return to the holy root. Come on back to the wisdom of home and realize that you're not alone. Shine your light like your mother said, for you were there when we were led. And there's a path for us all to see. Just grab that lamp that's at your feet. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba V'tom Cheha Me'usha. You can hear it, it's in the breeze. It's a story written in the leaves. And though those branches, they may wind and weave, it's a tree of life. Etz Chaim, Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba V'tom Cheha Me'usha. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba V'tom Cheha Me'usha. So come on in and find a seat, light those lights that usher peace. You can feel it, it's in your bones. It's a growing song that calls you home. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba V'tom Cheha Me'usha. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba V'tom Cheha Me'usha.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good evening. Thank you. For safety and courtesy, please silence your cell phones as a gentle reminder. And with seating limited in the sanctuary, please make room for others in your rows as needed. Thank you. Before the service begins, I'd like to direct your attention to the emergency exits and other safety features. Look for the red or green exit lights over the doors. There are exits on each side of the bima behind the curtains, or behind me. There are also exits at the back end of the social hall, which is behind all of you. At the side of the sanctuary, when the sliding walls are open, are the exits to the main doors through which you entered, and exit doors on either side of the lobby. There is a fire extinguisher and AED near the water fountain in the hall, and another fire extinguisher inside the doors to the sanctuary where you entered. Please look now and find the exits nearest to you. You may also want to look at the safety card in the seat backs in front of you and the safety cards placed in your chairs. In the unlikely event that we must evacuate, we'll meet at the southwest corner of the parking lot away from the building. Thank you for your attention. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Tayasha. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For those of you who don't recognize me immediately, I'm Cantor Paul Bush. Serving here with Rabbi Jonathan Kupitz, who is not with us this evening. There's a simcha in their family this weekend as their son Sam graduates from University of Laverne. So Rabbi will not be with us, but I'm sure you all join me in wishing a mazel tov to the Kupitz family, and especially to Sam, who is now a college graduate, and we're all thrilled for Rabbi and his family. Just a little bit of a preamble before we start today's service. I'm sure probably everyone out there, like myself, is still a little raw from the events of this week, certainly, and even the preceding 2 weeks. So we're going to take maybe a little bit more of a subdued tone than we would normally in Shabbat when we try to raise our energy and raise our voices to God. Certainly, if there was any time that we felt compelled to do that, it would be around now, but I think just in keeping with the energy that I feel, and I think a lot of us feel, we'll just be a little bit more contemplative, maybe take just a little bit longer to close our eyes. And as Rabbi Kupitz said last night in our congregational meeting, a beautiful teaching that he shared that was motivated by something he read by Rabbi Naomi Levy. While we consider all of the challenges that these past couple of weeks have brought our country and our world, it's also a time where we are ever more in touch with the richness of our blessings for our families, for our friends, for the strong community that we are part of here at TBI and in other areas of our lives. So with that, we will begin in the sanctuary, for those of you who are joining us in person, on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. Also, I did not get a chance to post the chat, the link to the virtual prayer book, but if you go to CCAR Press in Google, you can easily find the flip book that's available on the CCAR website. And of course, if you've been with us before, and if you're on Facebook, if you just scroll back to last week's or the week before's Shabbat service, you can find the link to the virtual Siddur there. But we begin by welcoming Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem,
Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Vochem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Alechem, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Huni L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Alechem, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Alechem, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In God's hands are the depths of the earth, the peaks of the mountains are God's. God is the sea, God made it, and the land which God's hands furnish. Come, let us now bow down and kneel, bend the knee before Adonai, our Creator, for Adonai is our God. As we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. Let's just take a few moments of silent reflection. Continue on page 20 with Lecha Dodi, welcoming the Shabbat Queen, the Sabbath Bride. We will do, as is our custom, the chorus and then verses 1 to 5 and 9. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 likrat kala. La 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 Penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat nekabe. La 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 lechadodi. La 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 Penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat nekabe la. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Ishme'anu el hamyuchan Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem ultiferet ve'litchila Ya la 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 lechadodi Ya la 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 likrat kala Ya la 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 Penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha Ki mekor habracha Verosh mikadem nesucha Sof ma'aseh v'maksheva techila Ya la 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 lechadodi Ya la 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 likrat kala Ya la 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 Penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat nekabela Itoreri Kivaorech Kumiori Shiraberi Kevod Adonai Alayich nigla Ya la 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 lechadodi Ya la 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 likrat kala Ya la 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 Penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat nekabela I invite those of you present, if you are able to rise and face the door as we welcome the Shabbat Queen. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uv'sohola toch emunei am segula Voi chala Ya la 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 lechadodi Ya la la likrat kala Ya la la Penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat nekabela I invite you to remain standing as we turn back to page 2. We had previously kindled our Shabbat lights at our family service, but I want to invite you to join me in the blessing again on page 2. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You may be seated. We're going to continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chai echon u'vyom echon uv'chayed echol ben Yisrael nagala Uvizman karim veimeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarah le'olam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yiromam v'yitnasei Ve'yitadar, ve'yitaleh, ve'yitalal, shemei dekudesha, ve'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata, ve'shirata, tushbechata ve'nechamata, ta'amiran ve'alma, ve'imeru. And if you are able, I will invite you to rise once more for our call to prayer, Baruch Hu, page 28. La 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach Leolam Vaed Hamevorach Hamevorach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Praised are you, Adonai, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You give the current of the day, you guide the current of the day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Last three lines in the Hebrew on page 30. El Chai v'Kayam Tamidim Lochaleinu Le'olam Vaed Baruch atah Adonai Hamarim Aravim. Everlasting love, you've offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever, day and night. We will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel, and all humankind. Last 4 lines, 32. Ve'avadecha atasir mimenu leolamim Baruch atah Adonai Oivamo Israel. If it is your custom to rise for Shema, I invite you to do so as we continue on page 3435. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. You may be seated. Page 37. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when at work, wherever you are tired, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. Bottom paragraph, page 36. Leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai Vitem gedoshim leElohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. There is a saying that comes from Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. All the world is a narrow bridge. The most important thing is not to be afraid. I feel very much on the narrow bridge. I think many, if not most of us do. And it's important to note that when we're talking about Mitzrayim, the Hebrew word for the land of Egypt, it comes from, etymologically, it comes from a root which means the narrow place, right? Mitzrayim is that place where we just feel so constrained that we can barely hold it together. So I think it's important to note as we sing Michamocha today that to remember that Michamocha was created once we had crossed through that narrowness, crossed through to the other side, crossed through to new freedom and new possibilities. And may this be so for all of us and Kol Ha'olam, all of the world as well. Page 40. Mi chamocha vaylim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh nora tehilo, osei fele nora tehilo, osei fele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zezeli anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed, mi chamocha vaylim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh nora tehilot, osei fele nora tehilot, osei fele, osei fele. Bottom paragraph, page 40. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. We continue on page 42 with our prayer that asks for the holy protection upon us that we experience, that we feel, that we sense the Sukkot Shlomecha, the protective covering of God's presence over us as we lie down to rest this evening and every evening. And I'm going to use the word Yah for God's name in the custom of Hannah Teferet Siegel, who wrote this little melody for Hashkivenu. I invite you to join me, and Yah will, the significance of the word Yah, I will speak about in just a few moments. Hashkivenu Yah Eloheinu leShalom, Hashkivenu Yah ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, השכיבנו יא אלוהינו לשלום, השכיבנו יא אלוהינו לשלום, השכיבנו יא אלוהינו לשלום. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. We continue on the next page, page 44, expressing our gratitude for the gift of Shabbat with Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Israel et HaShabbat la'aso et HaShabbat lidorotam beritolam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafas. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'aso et HaShabbat lidorotam beritolam. We are privileged to have 3 upcoming B'nai Mitzvahs in the month of June, and one of our upcoming B'nai Mitzvah is here, Noah Heyman. So I'd like to invite Noah to join me to lead us in our Amidah, our Tefillah, which begins on page 46. And if you are able, I invite you to please rise. Come on up.
Adonai sepatay tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna wait. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Hasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei Vneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Choser Umashiach Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Megain Avraham, Bizrat Sarah. Okay. Bor leolam Adonai, Mechayecha kol ata rav lehoshia. Read hata, Mechokel chaim bechesed, Mechayecha kol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umechayem emunatov lishenei afar. Ichamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiya Yeshua, V'neman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayech hakol.
Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Let's take a few moments for private reflection, and when you're comfortable, you may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom. The Sim Shalom prayer is normally sung or recited after the Amidah on Saturday morning, not on Friday night, but I like the tune, so I thought I would use this particular setting. The meaning of Sim Shalom basically is an admonishment to God to bless the people of Israel, to bring peace. Hopefully we can extend that to the entire world. The world is a very broken place right now, as you all know. So in 2006, cantor Natalie Young, who is the cantor at Temple Beth Israel in South Orange County, set the words of Sim Shalom to this melody. So this is the one I'm going to play for you, Sim Shalom, cantor Natalie Young.
Thank you, Randy. That was so beautiful. So this week's portion, Torah portion, is the second half of what in some years is a double portion. Behar was last week. This week it's Bechukotai, and it's the final portion in the book of Leviticus. And it's filled with God's promises to the people if they are loyal and faithfully follow the commandments, and also filled with warnings if they disobey. Peace, security, abundant crops are promised if they are faithful. Misery, suffering, and ruin will come if they spurn God's commandments. as the rabbi pointed out last evening, it's often only the most righteous member of the congregation who is given the opportunity to be the Bal Koreh, the Torah reader on Shabbat morning when this portion is read, because only someone who is so righteous can withstand the power of God's rebuke. Lest anyone think that this is mine or probably most of our theologies, I want to disabuse us of that notion, because I think, like most of Torah, verses of praise and rebuke are meant to affect our inner attitudes and not necessarily to serve as absolute parameters for how God acts in the world. If I believe those words, then I would even struggle more with the recent events, thinking that it is a blanket statement of all of our disloyalty or disregard of holy teachings that brings us events like we have witnessed in Uvalde, even in Buffalo, and even very close to home in Laguna Woods. But I do think that there is a message here. In fact, one of the things that I had planned to share with you was some writings from a very, both Rabbi Kupitz, I think consider him both a friend and a mentor in a lot of ways. Rabbi Paul Kipnis from Congregation Orami in Calabasas, who, if you are a Facebook friend of Rabbi Kipnis's, channeled his deep prophetic voice. But after, what do they call it, sober reflection, I don't think it's something I want to share in this setting. I think that we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to those we love to hold in our hearts the tragedy that has occurred, but also, and again, I'll just refer to what Rabbi said yesterday, to be very, very aware of our blessings. And that after Shabbat, each one of us has a responsibility to move the difficult conversations forward, so that, as we thought maybe there would be after the events of Sandy Hook or Columbine or Tampa, some at least concrete change to one very present factor in all of these tragedies, a tragedy which touches so many of our families. It has touched mine in three particular ways, and that also understanding that mass tragedy, like we're wrestling with now, is only this much of the story, and that the vast majority of those who died due to gunfire are suicides. So let us hold all that in our hearts. And the reason I brought up when I did Hashkivenu, Yah, as one of God's names, is it struck me as I read the names of those precious souls who lost their lives on Wednesday, how many of them were Hebraicized names that use the word of God. And I'll just mention a couple of them, and we'll read their names again when we say Kaddish in a few moments. 9-year-old Uzziah Garcia, Ozi, strength, Yah, my strength is in God. And then there's Omarye Joe Garza, Amarye, God spoke, Amarya, God spoke. Nevea Bravo, age 10. Those of you who may have heard of Neve Shalom, the Muslim Jewish peace village in Israel. Neve means the abode of God. Alexandria Aniya Rubio, Aniya, I'm God. I am God, Aniya. Layla Salazar, age 10. Lila, the evening. Why do people name their children after the evening? Because it's a time of calmness and beauty and and softness. Eliana, there's two Elianas. One pronounces it Eliana Eli Garcia, age 9, and Elihana Cruz Torres. Eliana, if you're with us on Sukkot, Ana Adonai, we implore God, answer us, O God. Aniya, Eli Ana, Eli, my God, answer me. Eliana, my God, answer me. That's the way my mind works. I look for it's kind of one part of our Jewish heritage is gematria, Jewish numerology. You're always looking, there's always other levels of meaning and other levels of messages. So I take some small comfort in the idea that some of these individuals, that God was present not only for them but for all of them in this tragic week. Shabbat Shalom. That's really all I have to share with you this evening. We're going to continue with prayers for healing for those, for all communities who've been affected by gun violence in the last couple of weeks, and particularly for those in our community who are in need of healing. And I ask you to turn to page 253 for our Misha Berach prayer. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu Yevarech El HaCholim We ask for prayers for healing for Rebecca Gilman, Anna Fields Austin, Sue Toback, Rosalind Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Pam Polyakov, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Judith Bosworth, Kathy Brewster, Jennifer Rudin, Marian Schneiders, Brad Holland, Meg Silton, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarsky, Ellery Einstein, Patricia Kramer, Joan Morse, Nomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, Lori Snyder, Jeremy Noller, Charity Rezadeh, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, Sarah Coachman, Richard Handley, Barbara Fass, Joel Beasy, Burton Gershman, Carol Berland, Janet Barong, Paula Steinbach, David Bush, Howard Bush, Dana Sundin, Lawson Spicer, Mark Fenton, Toyasha Sabag, Gloria Foster, Rita Warshaw, Ira Quatcher, Robert Gerard, Lisa Heyman, Brad Seffer, and Elna Rafanala. Elna Rafana. Elna Rafanala. Elna Rafana. Elna Rafana. Lo. So we have two special blessings this evening. First, you'll find on page 261. It's our blessing for the new month. You will hear in announcements all of the exciting activities we have planned for next weekend, which is our Brenda Rosenfeld Scholar Series Shabbat on Friday, and then Erev Shavuot on Saturday, and the Shavuot Festival itself on Sunday. But I will leave that for a moment because it is time to announce the new month. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Shtechadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba letova ve'livracha v'titen lanu chaim arukim chaim shel shalom chaim shel panasa chaim shetevanu avat Torah yirat shamayim chaim shemalu mishalot libenu letova. Amen. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness, blessing, and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity. May a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Sivan Yiyeh B'yom Ha'arva'ah Revi'i, actually. The new month begins on Wednesday, on the fourth day. And now we also have, we're coming to the end of our Omer period. 49 days is over. Next Friday night will be the 49th. And I invite you to turn to page 278 for the counting of the Omer. Hineni muchan umzuman lekayem mitzvah ashes el sfirat ha'omer. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom Shnayim ve'arba'im yom shehem shisha shavuot la'omer. Today is 42 days, which is 6 weeks of the Omer. And with all that announcing done, I'd like to invite Toyasha to return to the Bima to share some TBI announcements. You have your sheet.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you, Cantor Bush, for being here. And Thank you, everyone, for being here in the sanctuary and both online. It's my second time doing it. Toda Rabbah to Cantor Bush for leading our services in such an inspiring way, and also for the tone of tonight's services, which were a little bit more somber. I appreciate that. Also for providing the richness in your voice. So you wore 2 hats tonight. Thank you. And also thank you to Dr. Randy Povoy for his lovely piano piece of Shem Shalom, which is one of my favorites. I liked hearing that tonight. And also to Phil Middleton for handling our technology this evening. And lastly, to Noah for leading us in the Amidah earlier. Toda Rabbah. I'd like to thank you to our fellow congregants who generously donated delicious items for tonight's oneg, provided by the membership committee. I'd also like to thank our outside greeters, Debbie Harris and Kylie Sykes. Thank you. Lobby greeters, Sharon Regalado and Judy Rose. And our parking lot monitors, Jack Warshaw and Katie Loeb. Thank you. After the service, we gather in the social hall, which is behind all of us, for a Kiddush, motzi, refreshments, and conversation. Please take this opportunity to get to know someone new, which will help us continue to build our warm, personal Jewish community. As usual, we have a busy and engaged community. In particular, I'd like to highlight the following events that will be happening next weekend. Well, there's one on Monday, May 30th. TBI office and TLCC will be closed for Memorial Day. And then Wednesday, June 1st, really exciting, the Judica shop will be open so you can browse and shop from 2 to 4 p.m. to pick up all your amazing Judica needs. Lastly, Friday, June 3rd, Erev Shabbat service is the Rosenfeld Scholar at 7:30 p.m. in the sanctuary, and also on the TBI Facebook page and YouTube. You can learn more by visiting our website. And one last thing, Saturday, June 4th, Cantor mentioned it, is Erev Shavuot program featuring Rabbi Dr. Tali Zelkowitz at 7:30 p.m. in the social hall, and also interactive on Zoom. Please keep in mind that will not be available on Facebook or YouTube. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and I'm happy to see you all, as always.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Toyasha. The only thing I wanted to add is we will have a Shavuot Festival morning service at 10 a.m. here in the sanctuary. That will also be on Zoom only, so if you want to join us interactively, it may be on Facebook as well, I should check. But you can join that interactively, and those links will be certainly in the upcoming TBI email for that day if they aren't there already. So we will move to the final portions of our service with Aleinu. So I invite you to all turn to page 278. And if you are able to, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
I apologize. I know I said the wrong page number just then, but next time I'll get it right. So we move now to remember those who have passed in recent days or passed at seasons, passed in this season in years past. In addition to those names of our congregation that I will read in a moment, I just want to check one thing, if you will give me a second. I do want to mention the names of those whose lives were lost in both Buffalo 2 weeks ago and in Uvalde and also in Laguna Woods. The names of those lost in Uvalde were Uzia Garcia, Jose Flores, Amari Joe Garza, Javier Lopez, Nevea Bravo, Alicia Ramirez, Tess Marie Mata, Alexandria Ania Rubio, Leila Salazar, McKenna Lee Elrod, Jace Luevanos, Jayla Nicole Silguero, Elihana Eli Garcia, Elihana Cruz Torres, Annabel Guadalupe Rodriguez, Jacqueline Jackie Casares, Maite Juliana Rodriguez, Rogelio Torres, Miranda Matis, Eva Mirales, and Irma Garcia. The names of those lost in the Buffalo tragedy were Catherine Massey, Hayward Patterson, Pearl Young, Celestine Cheney, Andre McNeil, Roberta Drury, Ruth Whitfield, Aaron Salter, Margus Morrison, and Geraldine Talley. And I believe that I was just checking to make sure I had the name right, but I believe that the person who lost their life in the Laguna Woods was Dr. David Chen. In our own community, we mourn the recent loss of our past president, Jerry Title, and Beatrice Cadden, mother of Terry Helfand. And we also remember the recent passing of Eva Besbris. We acknowledge the yurtzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Marion Brown, Ernst Eisler, Lillian Kane, Judy Ruby, Natalie Wallman, Stanley Feldman, Sidney Rosenblum, Dwayne Clodfelter, Margie Horowitz, Irving Carr, Fred Kaufman, Charlene Schifris, Daniel Friedman, Arthur Goldstein, Ann Lipman, Benjamin Marcus, Irene Nedich, Glenn David Smilkstein, Drina Bush, Milton Pollack, Molly Beasy, Sarah Brown, Jacob Dabrowski, Loretta B. Lindenbaum, Chaim Rindy, Reginald H. Crawford, Leo Freed, Edward Kahn, and Miriam Nedich. If there's a name you'd like to add as I come through the congregation, please do so. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a yurtzeit, I invite you to rise at this time. And if it is your custom to rise in love and support for those who mourn, I also invite you to do so as we turn to our Kaddish prayer on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael b'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach l'alma le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a lasting blessing. So we're going to close with a page turn. I'd like to stay on page 294 for just a moment. I mentioned the way that my mind works sometimes, the connections that I found between the names and the Hebrew words for God was important for me, but also when I thought of a closing song, I did a little research into the name of the city in Texas, Uvalde, and found out that it was a misappropriation of another word, Ugalde, with a G. And Ugalde was the name of the Mexican governor back in the 19th century, and that's how the town got its name. And in Basque, which is the language that's spoken in northern Spain, Ugalde means someone that dwells by the river. So the words of Oseh Shalom I'd like to share with you from Randy and myself, set to a kind of a traditional tune called The Water is Wide. And then we'll join together for Beyado on page 321. Oseh Shalom
Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. May the one who creates harmony creates harmony, harmony on high. Bring peace to all Israel and bring peace to all with whom we dwell, with whom we dwell.
Bottom of page 321.
Beyado of Kidruchi, Be'ishan ve'a'ira, Be'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, Be'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira. My soul I give to you, my spirit and your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand. Beyado of Kidruchi, Be'nishan ve'a'ira, Be'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, Be'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom here in the sanctuary, and to those of you in Cyber Shul, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on Mondays and Wednesdays for our Zoom Siyum, Saturday night for our Havdalah tomorrow night, and then big weekend next weekend with Rabbi Dr. Zelkowitz and Shavuot. So, Lehitraot. Good night, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.